German culture, I absolutely adore their love for punctuality. I grew up in a family where it's like, you have to tell people that an event starts 30 minutes before it actually starts to get there on time. But in Germany, people are there like 5 minutes early. That's like punctual for them. And that's me. Like, I love that, being on time to things and, doing what you say you're going to do. The Germans, they definitely do that. And I love, love, love that. I love how honest and kind of just like straight up with you German people are. Like, if they don't like something, they're just like, no, like, I don't like that. And it's not in a rude way at all. It's just kind of like let's not beat around the bush and say that we like something when we don't, just like cut all that out and just be straight to the point. But people are okay with that because that's the culture and they're used to people being very straight up and very honest. And I love that too. It's like, yeah, like I could just say like, yep, that's not for me. And like, it's fine. And you don't have to give an excuse or anything. It's just very like, they understand like, yep, people have opinions and like, we can be straight up about it in a polite and kind way. But yeah, I love that. I think it's really cute how, this is like a German stereotype, but living with a host family as an exchange student, I found it to be very true. Just about how prepared Germans are for the weather. Like, I would leave the house without a jacket, and my host mom would be like, what are you doing? Where's your jacket? Like, you got to be prepared in case it rains or if it gets cold and everything. And I was like, nah, it looks fine. Like, I'll be fine. I'm okay being a little cold. And like, what? I don't understand that. And my host sisters would like leave the house with, they always had an umbrella. They always had like their jacket just in case, a little like thing to put on their bike in case it rains, always prepared for the weather. Whereas I'm like, I hate carrying an umbrella. Like, no, thank you. But it's just one of those things that you see it and you're like, oh, that's so like German, and it just makes you smile. I love how just like the different sounds that you make when you're like or huh in German. People will be like or they'll say like, if you're like, instead of saying no to something, like the German word for no is nein, but they'll just say no, which is like N with an O with an umlaut, and no, and I just love that. That's one of my favorite things too. You're just talking to someone like, hey, you want to go get lunch? And they're like, no. It's one of those German words that just makes you smile. When I went over to Germany to work for an internship, I think one thing that it was a really big surprise at first, but I wish we did it like that here in the United States. I started my internship in May, and there's a ton of holidays in May, and I was assigned a project, and there was one person on that team that had all the information that I needed for the project, but she was on vacation for pretty much the entire month of May, and I kind of reached out to my supervisor and was like, hey, like, do we contact her? Like, she's out of the office, but like, is there an email that we could send? And they're like, no. Like, if you're on vacation, you're on vacation. Like, we do not contact them. Like, they're gone. And I just love that whole work-life separation, kind of like the balance that they've achieved there, where you don't live to work. You work so that you can live your life. And coming from like a very fast-paced American work culture where it's like, oh, if you're on vacation, but like you're the only one with the information that this team needs to finish a project, like it's very accepted kind of in our culture to reach out, send them a text, send them an email, and like at their leisure they can get back to you, but just keeping them in the loop while they're out of the office. But from my experience working in Germany, that was very different. It was like, if you're on vacation, and like we're just gonna let you go and enjoy your time, which I really admire that about the German and kind of just the European work culture in general too. They've achieved a much better balance between just like you're living your life and also working. Something else, maybe something that was kind of a culture shock to me when I first moved to Germany as an exchange student in high school. With my host family, they were like more of like quiet, reserved type people, and I come from a very loud, very expressive family, like 5 kids and pets everywhere. Like, it's always a mess, but that was another thing too. I came from like a very messy type of household, and my first experience in Germany, like everything was so clean, and I almost felt intimidated, like I can't touch anything because I'm gonna like ruin it or make it dirty, which it's not the case. You just like organize after yourself and clean up after yourself a lot more kind of strictly than I would do it with my own family. I think that was a bit of a cultural thing, and also more particularly for my host family as well. But they're also like a lot more quiet, a lot more reserved, and I found myself having to like, sometimes I can talk really loud, and I was like, oh, gotta like bring down my volume a little bit. But that might have just been with my particular host family. One thing that I love about just European culture, German culture, living in Germany, living in Europe, is public transportation and just being able to walk everywhere. I've lived in big cities in Germany. I've lived in very, very small towns in Germany too. And as an exchange student, we would just bike. I would bike to school, and just love that you're able to bike to school and like come home for lunch and go back to school after lunch. Where I grew up in California, like if you tried to bike anywhere, you're about to like get run off a cliff. You know, it's really dangerous just because like the roads are really windy. They're not built for bikers or anything. No, hardly any sidewalks. And the distances are so long too, whereas in a smaller town in Europe and in Germany, it's just so lovely to be able to walk to the store, you know, like you have your little bag, you walk to the store, you can go grocery shopping, or just take a walk in, you know, your backyard. I was very fortunate to live in some very beautiful areas of Germany as an exchange student. Like my backyard was just these beautiful rolling fields with a forest close by, and the Germans really do have a wonderful appreciation of nature as well. That I just love that about them.